You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm about to fall asleep. I get black clear.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Ryan McCubbin.
Hey everyone, how you doing today?
Welcome. David Hall.
Does anybody have a paperclip?
How about a toe link? Donnie Spiker.
That's what's holding them together.
I made it, fellas. How's everybody doing?
Welcome. Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, and Steve Thompson.
Hey, welcome to the iRacers Lounge. Come on in and take a big seat here in this comfortable couch next to Mike Ellis.
Yeah, on the show this week, we will deep dive into the eNASCAR Coke Series Championship race held live at the NASCAR Hall of Fame with announcer Evan Pasoko. We have lots of new hardware to check out, including a new offering from Sim Coaches and a whole new pedal design from SimuCube.
Yeah, and you can see all these cool new products we'll be discussing and follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show for yourself. And you can do it by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So let's check it out.
Sim Coaches offers the realistic sim racing equipment you need to win more races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel just like the real thing. High quality construction, 100% leak proof, and lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals. And they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com and use the coupon code iRitzers Lounge to get 10% off your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you're actually sitting behind the wheel of a car. Drive harder and stay on the limit longer.
All right, before we jump into topics, let's talk about our little impromptu live stream that we had, guys. I think around, was it Tuesday, around midday, Greg was like, hey, should we do a live stream? And I was like, I can do it. And Mike was like, yeah, I can do it. And we popped on and just had like 7 or 8 guys watching the stream and commenting as we went.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, I thought. Some of it, like Brian, you were working on something else, but you were able to sit in with us and comment on what's going on. And then we had Tony Rochette show up, and who else was there?
Tyler Williamson was hanging
And
out with
Bobby
us.
Jonas. Yeah, Tyler
Yeah.
Williamson and Bobby Jonas showed up, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah, well, that's how I consumed the Coke race. I don't know where I was, but I was able to listen to you guys and actually understand what the heck was going on during the race as well. So you guys did a pretty good job. It was a lot of fun. Sad I missed it.
Yeah, a lot of side talk. We talked about their, cockpits and different things, and speculated on what's going on. It was fun. We'll probably do that again, maybe for the first Daytona race we were talking about. So.
All right, well, we'll roll on into the topics then. And we're going to start with Dell Jr. pulling a William Byron on a fellow iRacer. And it was Brandon Keatle. He shared this video where Dell Jr. accidentally ran into the back of him, sending Brandon forward to the inside wall. However, it does appear to be after the checkered.
I thought you're supposed to move over for him. Just get out of the way.
I don't think Dale would actually want you to do that. I think he wouldn't want you to race extra hard, but he wouldn't actually have to race you, right?
I just realized it was after the checker. I didn't know that. I just thought it was under yellow. Well, I mean, how come the pace car is on the track though? If the checkered flag is out, it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I thought that was a little weird too. The checkered flag was out with the pace car or
Oh, you
pace
know what
truck.
it
It was
is? This
actually
is a
a pace truck.
retry. He just rewinded back to a previous lap, and that's the checkered from his actual race.
Well, darn it! Now I
And
want to know: was this caution? Yeah, it had to have been caution then.
Yeah, because the pace car's there.
the only other thing
Well,
that would be if it was a yellow after that it was the last yellow that could come out.
Well, darn it!
Oh,
Now I'd be upset.
yeah, it could have been under the white flag. Maybe I don't know. But Brandon Cattell, he did say that in his Twitter, where he posted this video, that he said he probably deserved it, Dale. So he must have done something to earn this response from Dale Jr. But that's not in the video. He kept that hidden.
Well, we listened to the audio right before, and basically Dell said he was nearly falling asleep.
yeah, he
That's
said that in the Twitter reply as well.
that's what I'm claiming too.
I had this happen at I woke up really early and decided I'll run an ESS race. I don't remember. I think it was Road America, and I was getting drowsy. I shouldn't have tried to race it, and I actually dozed off just long enough to hit a wall. And there's no cautions, so it can happen. So what is this Shadow Rim, Brian, or Shadow Realm?
Yeah, it's a video that iRacing posted on their Instagram page. It's a picture of it's a video of a car at the Summit Point racetrack. Well, the guy gets into the grass and the sand pit, and he loses control and kind of veers off to the left side of the track. And there's an opening in the wall where there's just a hill that kind of launches him right into the trees. So iRacing had a little fun with this video because as he flies into through the trees, there's a bunch of crazy videos and psychedelic stuff, and all these weird videos of this guy, kind of showing that he's launched himself into some extra dimensional type of portal that they go through. It was pretty funny. I liked some of the stuff on it was really fun. But yeah, that's basically what they posted. It was pretty cool to see. It's a very imaginative thing they did there.
Very creative. I mean, the end part where they, he's launched into the universe through a tube of the black hole, and then they do all this crazy video stuff. It's pretty entertaining.
I need to see Summit Point in real life because this looks like a spot you could go off and then go straight into that area and actually hit the wall. But we don't have a wall there. We have a ramp into the trees. So I'm curious what it looks like in real life if they have any kind of safer barrier there, any tire wall, or do you really just launch into the trees or space in this case?
I've actually been to this track before, but I couldn't tell you anything about that spot. It's been a few years.
Yeah, the video kind of reminds me of the movie Contact, if you remember that back from the '90s.
Yeah, it reminded me of Interstellar, and they might have had some clips from one of those shows, one of those movies in it.
You got Happy Gilmore's daydreams in here as well.
Yes.
Well, what you didn't have in the video was highlights. But Donnie, what we have next is the highlights of the week.
Yep. iRacing posted their highlights of the week, and they had 7 of them this week. Anybody have any favorites?
I thought the Casey Kerwin was pretty cool. I think it was number 6, running side by side, and he ended up being the Coca-Cola champion.
Well,
Yeah.
it was probably
Who
too
would have
late to
thought that would?
put it in this, but there was a
I
four
was
wide
gonna
in the
say,
Coke race, right?
yeah. Who would have thought Casey Kerwin's highlight this week would have been from a GT race?
Yeah, he was battling another streamer, and it was the battle of the streamers on that one.
Number 2 is pretty fantastic. You have a few cars almost sideways crossing the line, 3 wide crossing the line, and then one right behind them.
Oh,
Is
the
that the one?
87s.
Look like the 87s. Yep.
Yeah, that's the 87s are just awesome car.
I want to run 87 cars just so I can get the chance to see one flip up in the air like this one did in this video, because not too many of the other cars do this kind of get the air underneath them and just launch in the air like the 87s do. And I haven't seen that in real life, so I need to run some 87s at Daytona or something.
Talladega. You get light through the infield or through the tri-oval there, and yeah, it'll just come over. I don't know. They have the Radicals battling at I think Sebring or somewhere, and that was a pretty good battle. I mean, you could throw a blanket over four of them.
And the very first one was a last lap pass at a 12-hour event. All those when those last lap passes happen on one of those real long 12 or 24-hour races. It's just amazing that after that much time, comes down to the very final lap.
Especially not having yellow flags to bunch it up, and it's just natural.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting if you watch our video because you can see where a lot of our sim racing rigs are. And this next guy has, I guess, at least that's what he names his channel, the Sim Racing Den. Mike, have you checked this one out?
Yeah, I got an ad from this company, the simracingden.com, for buying merchandise, and so I went to their website.com, and there's a couple of them. I mean, there's a one shirt, eat, sleep, sim race, repeat. That's pretty neat. Like a 4 lines, eat, sleep, sim race, repeat. I might even get that one. $27.
I just need Lyft added to that one, and it would be my summers.
Or there's the one, be fast or be last. There's one that says no speed limit. There's another one with this a black hoodie with a white square. It says Sim Racer. That's kind of cool. And of course, he's got a bunch of other stuff with his logo on it, but he has some neat sim racing specific shirts. So I wanted to mention them on the show. It's called the simracingden.com.
All right, so it's really already getting to be that time where the post is out for more schedules. If you go check out our show notes, you'll see that there's a few links to some of the different places where you can submit schedules to the community leaders to get your ideas in to see what tracks get run. I know that for a while now there hasn't been that much variety in the Euro Sprint series, but I'm also guilty of not really chiming in on it. So I don't know about you guys. I mean, A Open is going to be locked into the schedule, right? And so is NIS.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have run the series that really, matter where you need to pick. But if you're one of the people that run 12, the 12-week seasons, get involved, go to find that forum post for your particular series. There's basically a forum post for every series out there. And you just participate with the community and try to come to some kind of consensus. And then one person sends it into Tyler or whoever is asking for it.
Yeah, this used to be one of my favorite parts of the season. Kind of forecast what might be next and what tracks I might have to buy. Luckily, that's dwindling down as I go along. I purchase stuff, but yeah, it's exciting. So whatever series you run, usually there's a schedule post in there for you to check it out.
All right. So if you're interested, get your schedules in, participate in those communities. All right. Because you never know what track you might be skating around on. Right, Steve?
Yeah. The Parker Kligerman had announced on video that the Euro NASCAR series will be racing on ice when it begins in 2023 in Finland, and he's wanting to go over there and race on the ice. He said I guess he lived in Canada and he used to see the advertisements for it. So I think sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, and we need to get him over there to race.
Now I know they typically run road over there, but will this be some kind of ring, or will it be a road course of ice, like a rally course almost?
I would guess a road, but not sure. There hasn't been a lot of details on it, but I think what's the iRacing angle on this is, hey, we're getting a rain model. Maybe we need a snow model. Is it snow or ice? Maybe an ice model, whatever you want to call it.
I know we've talked about point to point in the past, like the mountain not being super popular, but would a point to point rally would it exist and thrive in iRacing? Because then you could bring in, snow to that element.
I mean, I don't see a lot of activity at Mount Washington. Like you said, there's not an official, there's no series, there's nothing and hosted rarely, ghost
And
town.
it's just not very exciting racing by yourself, really. That's part of the sim. Part of the
It's
allure
fun
of
for
the
a
sim
while.
is online racing with other people.
Like I had a blast trying to replicate, Travis Pastrana's lap time, and I did that for 2 or 3 weeks straight, and but once, I was done with it, I was done with it.
Yeah, no, makes sense. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. We had that California 300 out here, and it's a off-roading through the desert, and there's multiple trucks on the course at once, but you're not really racing as much. Maybe you might pass them, but I'm curious if something like that could be viable. But like you guys said, you're competing against other trucks per se, but you're really racing the environment more than everybody else. But then how do you work on the breaking down and repairing? Yes, I don't know. Always think about it sometimes though.
I don't know about the rest of you, but it triggers some ancient memory in the back of my mind about some racing game that you raced on ice, and it was kind of like a road course. I can actually feel the layout still in my mind, but I can't say what game it was or anything. I'm that old.
It might be Mario iKart.
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Well, the track that certainly has a lot more grip than ice right now, even though it's starting to build a little bit of age, is Texas. And recently, Dale Jr. had Margaret Smith on his show, and he has stated that they are currently working with iRacing at looking at ideas for reconfiguration.
So there you go. I think that's the first we heard confirmation that iRacing's working on Texas. What do you think, you guys? I mean, what do you guys what would you do to it if you're redesigning it? You're sitting with your keyboard and mouse, and you can turn it into whatever you want. Do you turn 3 and 4 into 1 and 2? Make 1 and 2 make it the same on both sides, or vice versa.
Well, Junior mentioned that he was a little concerned that maybe the asphalt will finally get some character as it wears out. They kind of don't like the product, but it takes some asphalts. So is it that it's new asphalt or is it the new design? So what I would suggest is they also just crank up the wear and tear on the current configuration and see how the cars behave. Don't disregard that option before you tear the track up again and just put brand new pavement down again.
Maybe run a diamond cutter over it and get it abrasive. Get it to
Well, they
wear the
could
tires out.
that maybe, or I don't know about that, but they could just go ahead and see what the track would behave like with if they put, say, something more like
For 3 years on it,
the
right?
old Atlanta surface on it or something. You know, not the bumps, but just the wear, and see what that would do to it.
I don't know
That'd
why
be
they
cool if
just
they could.
the
Sorry,
original.
Steve.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to step on you. I was just thinking out loud when David was saying that. I mean, wouldn't it be cool if iRacing could, say, hey, what would this surface look like or run like 10 years from now? They push a button, and it has 10 years of wear on it, and it behaves like it was 10 years older. That would be cool.
I
And I
think they
think
should go back to the original configuration they had there. I thought Texas was pretty fun track until they changed it. And now with all the PGA1 that they've sprayed, they've ruined the asphalt, they said. So, I mean, they're going to have to tear it up anyways to do something with it.
Well, Marcus did state that they didn't like the results they were getting on the old configuration either.
And it's hard with how
So
how massive they built those grandstands. They can't just, I mean, they could physically tear them down, but they're not going to want to. And the way it's configured in that goofy dog leg, like Charlotte and Atlanta, it's very hard to work with that front stretch and make it anything different, unless
Oh,
you're going to turn it into Atlanta.
they definitely also said that it's not in the budget to move the grandstands.
they, I mean, they have the same problem as Fontana. I mean, you have all these grandstands. I mean, do you keep it as a mile and a half even? I mean, maybe you make a mile track. Maybe you make a Phoenix or a New Hampshire or maybe even shorter, 3/4 mile Richmond.
And NASCAR owns Fontana, and they're ripping out the grandstands. It doesn't seem they care about the price, but SMI doesn't want to tear out grandstands apparently.
Well, they
Well,
probably don't
that
mind
comes down
tearing
to
up the
the land value.
grandstand when they're selling the property.
The old Texas track though with this new car might run great. I mean, look at all the mile-and-a-half tracks this year. They had awesome, probably the best racing they've had all year has been on mile-and-a-halves.
Yeah, the Charlotte's really come in really good over the recently. That track's really come in for a mile and a half track.
Yeah, it's just gonna be weird if they fix the short track problem. Does that hurt the mile and a half package? Are they going to have different car types per track? Not necessarily a looking car, but get rid of the diffuser at short tracks, keep the diffuser for the mile and a halfs and whatnot.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Let's toss this next one over to Brian. We got Formula Row 2.0 taking off.
Yeah, this originated from a post from Greg West in the iRacing forums, and he's saying that after a lot of discussion combined with looking at the data and what's on the horizon, that iRacing has decided that they're going to take the Formula Renault 2.0 take off a season in season one. So they're not going to be running that Renault 2.0 for season one coming up. So after that time, they're going to reevaluate the future of how the car is used in the service and develop a plan after that. So kind of sounds like it's possible that that car might be going away if they're reevaluating how it's being used in the service. Maybe it'll be turned into a legacy or something like that. But apparently, I'm assuming the participation is pretty low, and they're not happy with that, and they're going to reevaluate that series altogether.
Yeah, I agree with this Mitch Mullins fella from the comments in the forum post. I mean, you have so many. You have three different ladders. It seems like with the open wheel cars, and the Renault series kind of gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. You have the IRO4 and the F3 for the Formula side, and then you have the Indy Pro and USF for the American side. So I guess I can see and he even says it here. Just if they're going to take it off, just get rid of it, put it legacy, and move on. So I kind of agree with his take here.
Well, is it a case of nobody's running the race? I mean, he does mention the data. They can see how many participants there are, and for the three of you that ran all the races, so sorry to the three of you. Maybe it's one of those deals.
Well, they wouldn't get rid of it if it was super popular, or they wouldn't be taking a break.
Right. Yeah, that's got to be part of it.
Do any of you guys run that car?
Don't even own it.
Yeah, me neither. Dave?
I like sports cars. I don't really do the open wheel so much.
Oh, there's a lot of them
That's
to
any
choose from.
indication.
Like Donnie said, you got U.S. ladder system. You got the European ladder system.
All right, we got a quick hit, kind of sort of on a little patch that came out this morning, I guess. It resolved an issue with Creator Race that had something to do with AI and that was in the UI. They fixed some problems with Team Paint Shop buttons that are where it's more prominent on the team's model window. Dynamic imaging, some issue with that. That's basically a graphics fix, right? Then in race control, they fixed an issue where the race would not go green if there was no inside line leader on rolling starts. And on dynamic on with dynamic track on dirt ovals, they fixed an issue where dirt heights along the track walls led to excessive bumps and could cause snagging for cars that were using the new damage model. Fixed some stuff with the spotter in the TJ and Steve pack, and they've done something to the IndyCar oval with time attacks to fix. It was causing drivers to start on the road course stalls instead of, and basically getting a black flag right off the bat. So just a few small fixes here and there.
Looks like it's all
Was
fixed up
this
for Mike and the UI. That's sure.
yeah.
I want to point
Was
out,
this a download?
yeah, it was a quick load. I did it
Okay,
today.
I haven't been on today, so I didn't know if it was one of those automatic ones that they don't need a download.
They updated something in the app again for your smartphone. I do want to point out, I mean, when I click results, I still can't read the driver names. I mean, surely they can design it for iPhones when you have the font increased.
Can you pinch your fingers together to make it smaller?
No, but the apps can force whatever font size they want. Like Facebook always has the smallest font, and I can't change it no matter what. But other apps, they go with whatever you have set on the phone, and that's the way they have this app set. But if you do that, you have to maybe have certain pages where it doesn't do it, so it's still legible. I mean, right now it's not even, you can't even read it. So yeah, they just need to practice with an iPhone and turn up the font. Hopefully somebody there is listening, because I've been too lazy to put it in the forums.
They have to. I mean, do you guys run iPhones? Are you guys having similar problems? I'm sure somebody at iRacing has an iPhone and has come
You would think
across
so,
this.
right? And maybe has bad eyes like me and turns the font up. All right, housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. We are on Discord, we have our website, and we're in regular rotation at the Performance Motorsports Network and the Sim Racing channel on Roku TV.
All right, Brian, tell us how fantasy went.
All right, guys. So what we got 2 races left after this past week, right? So coming into the final couple races of the year, and the last one was at Homestead. The winner of the week was Mud Dog with Silver Mustang 91 in second, Res Dog in third. We had a Tifosi driver in fourth. That was Tony Rochette. And we also had Tony Groves in the top 10. He finished in ninth. And Tyler finished in a tie for 14th. So few Tifosi guys on the front page of this of the standings for the week. When we look into the overall series standings, Louder Racing is still holding on to the lead with O Baby 44 in second and 21F in third. And Greg is in seventh place in the overall standings for the season.
We got some surprises for the winner of the league, the fantasy league. So if you're in the running for the top spot, get to it because you're going to like what we got coming. So any
So
talk about next week or this coming weekend? Who do you guys like?
Hopefully Blaney wins, but
You know his luck this year, though.
the last 2 weeks have been his fault, unfortunately. But that's just the story of my sports watching life.
I do.
I think if I was going, sorry, Dave. I think if I was going outside of the playoff drivers, I think we'd look at Martin Truex. He had a lot of speed last week, and he's gotten really good on these short tracks. And he's probably a little upset after the way things turned out last week as well. but he has terrible luck, so that might be the downside for him.
Your guys that are close or just barely above the bubble on the points, who probably need to are going to try to points in instead of win in, they're probably not going to win because they're going to sacrifice their last track position to win to get a high finish in stage 1 and stage 2.
Yep. Good point.
Well, that's one of the things I really don't like about stage racing is people are giving up, you know, possibly winning the race just in order to win a section of a race. To me, that seems so dumb. It's not the point of racing is not to win, the at the third mark or the 2/3 mark. It's to win the race. And if it's more lucrative to sacrifice a possible race win just to get points for the middle sections of the race, it's dumb. I'm sorry. I mean, I understand why they do it and everything, but I just don't like it. I mean, if anything, make the points a lot lower in the stages than they are for the race win. Maybe that way they could have their cake and eat it too. But yeah, I don't like that part about the stage racing.
Well, maybe they have the stage points be a lesser value, than they currently are, so
Yeah, that's what I
people
meant.
don't make that choice.
Then you got guys that dominate though. They dominate the stages and win the race like Cragson did at this last weekend at Homestead in the Xfinity Cup, Xfinity car.
All right. One more thing on Homestead. I mean, Kyle Larson ripping the top, ripping the fence, man. He put on a show. And if you run iRacing, I mean, you got to get in the A car, you got to get at Homestead, and you got to try to rip the fence like Kyle Larson. And it's possible. It is possible to do what he was doing.
I'm
I've seen
really glad
Alfredo
that
do it
the
a few times too, but it's hard. It's hard. I have to give myself a little escape room if I miss it.
Him and
but
Gregson.
if you
There's a
do
handful
that,
of guys that can nail it, but you guys are right. It's incredible to watch, and it's super difficult even to attempt on the surface.
if you are giving yourself an escape route, Dave, though, aren't you kind of defeating the purpose? Are you losing speed trying by not being that close?
Yeah,
To an
because
extent,
the lefts are
Yeah,
down on that lower angle. Yeah.
but I only go up high if I have to get around somebody. Otherwise, I'm going low. But I can make about half a lane down work and get around somebody if they're trying to hold me up.
A good way to
I
practice
really,
this
I
is
really like.
damage off.
I'm glad that the new cars um, let that the high line still was faster in the new car and that it didn't change because I think the really exciting thing to watch when they're ripping the fences like that.
I'm
All
curious how many people, because we only had a handful of guys do it in the Cup race, but Larson and Gregson seem to take it to another level. And I'm just curious how many race car drivers out there on planet Earth can do that? Because it just looks to do it continuously for the 400 miles it's just super impressive.
we had Allmendigger too running, a lane and a half off the wall, and he was fast. I mean, if he got by um the kid, what's the other kid's name that was second? If he got by him, he might have given Larson a run. Chastain.
Chastain was looking good too, wasn't he?
Yeah, really good.
Hardware software brought to you by Supreme 3D Printing. Are you looking for that next sim rig upgrade, or maybe your man cave needs a little more style? Or is your wife wanting to redecorate your home? Well, we here at Supreme 3D Printing have you covered. We create and print tons of different and useful items that is sure to fit everyone's style and budget. If you don't see what you're needing, then feel free to contact us for your needed item. They have the Etsy shop at etsy.com, Supreme 3D Printing.
All right, the first hardware item on the docket is the Thrustmaster T128. It's been revealed as an entry-level feedback wheel for the PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Are you guys excited?
I could hardly sleep when this thing was announced.
I almost thought this was their direct drive, and I was like, "Wow, got announced with no any kind of fanfare whatsoever. How'd they do this?" But then it's not. Is it their low wheel now? It's only 199, and I don't know. It doesn't look. I guess it'd be, some toy by maybe a kid or something.
Well, isn't this the one that had been teased in promos for like 2 years, or is this something different?
This has to be different because that thing's supposed to be a direct drive. This is not a direct drive.
So the direct drive does come out later in October, according to this article.
Of what year?
Right.
Good question. Later in October, it's like with 3 days left in October.
This wording is funny. Thrustmaster will finally reveal its first ever direct drive wheel that will rival the high-end Fanatec GT DD Pro next month. It's going to rival it.
This wheel
That means
here,
the price.
the T128.
No, the direct drive wheel that they're going to put out.
There was I threw it away though from last week. There was a review on this thing, but it was pretty poor.
You have to
It's
review
an
these
entry
things
level.
in relevance to what you're reviewing it as, because obviously things have its steps, and you can't compare this to the higher end stuff. But if it's something you're going to walk through a store and I don't know, maybe buy your 10-year-old kid something different, then maybe it's good. Who knows?
I think you said it right though. You can't compare it to the higher end stuff, but they tried to in the article. That's kind of what I'm laughing at.
I get you.
So back when I started sim racing, if you were new to sim racing, how did you get involved? You bought a Thrustmaster or a Logitech
It's exactly where
because
I
you
went.
didn't know about anything else. You didn't know about it.
Exactly. You couldn't go to a store and buy that kind of stuff.
Right. You go to Best Buy and these are the two options. So I don't blame people who buy it. It is an entry level wheel and I had an entry level wheel. I had the Logitech G27 for a long time and it served me very well. And I'm sure this would for an entry level, somebody getting in too.
Yeah, the review I saw, they couldn't really understand why they came out with this unless they thought it was replacing their other low entry wheel, but they didn't really know.
Well, probably just being able to say it's a direct drive is just going to be able to. It's just the only way they can say they're kind of keeping up with the other technology that's out there.
Yeah,
You
because
mean
this
the
one,
wheel they haven't announced yet? Yeah.
yeah, because this one came out the same week. They announced this one the same week as the Logitech DD came out, so I think they were trying to steal some thunder from it.
I didn't see a lot of thunder though. I mean, I found this one article and I really didn't see anything else. So yeah, they need, like I've said before, with Thrustmaster, they need some help in the marketing department and social media.
All right, well, Donnie, let's stock the two new videos out from Sim Coaches.
Yeah, so they put out a couple of videos this week. One going over their rigs that they have for sale, their turnkey rigs. You can go on their website, and they have different levels to the turnkey cockpits they have. The ones in here, my boy helped size them for their event they had in Vegas. They had a go-kart one that actually turns into a full-size rig once you're out of the go-kart stage. So that's kind of cool. And their prices vary, and it comes with everything. The computer they build as well. So it comes with the computer, the monitor mounts, the monitor, the rig, the pedals. It comes with the 3-set pedal, with the 2 hydraulic, the clutch and the brake. Comes with a SimuCube, I believe a Pro for the wheelbase. I believe you also would get a one of their hydraulic handbrakes as well. So yeah, they have different levels to what they're offering. And then the second video they put out was kind of going over their origin of how they started off as a company and how they decided to start making pedals, which I thought was really cool. Just to have the confidence and actually the material and tools to be able to do something like that. But yeah, it's kind of cool. He's told the story before where him and his buddy were upstairs racing, and they're like, "Hey man, we can make our own pedals if we really wanted to," and sure enough, they did.
Yeah, pretty neat to kind of hear the origins of the company. And, he said he was given coaching lessons to racing drivers, and he just kind of turned into this. And so it's pretty cool. Now those rigs, I mean, the price, I mean, I saw 9,000, 11,000, I think 15,000. But like you said, they're turnkey. I mean, they literally include everything you need. Like you don't have to add nothing to this. It's ready to race, right?
Yeah, everything's ready. He actually delivered one to the town south of me. The last time I came out, he had happened to just say he drove past my house and down south and delivered one of the rigs to somebody. I don't know which one he did deliver, but it's just he is selling some of them, which is nice to see. But yeah, you just essentially, if that's what you want, you don't want a hassle of nothing. He just shows up with the rig, they assemble it, and then you're good to go. If you look at the thumbnail, Mike, I had mentioned this to you before. ASR came out with that Pro, or are coming out with that Pro, that lime green one that has the solid panels. So what those
Right.
are, and the last time I was at the shop, I saw it and I noticed it, and I asked them what they were, and all that is a plate that he has a way of attaching to the rig itself. So he could put you could put your logo on there if you'd like. That way, it doesn't make it permanent. You could take the plates off if you want. That way, you can still have your adjustability. So those are he put magnetic strips within the grooves of the extrusion, and then you can attach face plates to them, and then you could put whatever logo you want on there, any kind of design you come up with or whatnot. So
Does he sell the
Wow.
those cool monitor mounts? Does he sell those separately or only on his rigs?
no, you can buy. I'm actually I don't. I'm probably picking one up at the end of the month. Um, I don't know when he plans on releasing them, but last time I was at the shop, he has like a whole rack of them ready to go. I don't know exactly what he's waiting for to release them, but the cool thing about it, and you'll see it in some of the videos. So that's a single monitor mount, and he has a triple monitor mount that's built the same way, and it hinges. So when you pull your cockpit into you can actually open the left side or right side and swing it open. And the alignment's awesome. It's made out of the aluminum. It's super strong. It's actually impressive how strong it is to be able to hold up the
I would
monitors. And
just look at that.
there's no wiggle to it at all. There's your monitors are perfectly lined up. So hopefully, when I make my trip out there later this month or next month, I could get me a triple monitor mount.
I'm quite envious that you can just hop over there and visit him. I would love that opportunity.
It's 2.5 hours. Well, three. He's on the north end of town, so it's 3 hours from where I'm at here. But it gives me an excuse now. Me and my wife, we don't like Vegas whatsoever. We're not gamblers. We're not big drinkers. But now it gives me a reason to kind of sneak over there, I guess.
I mean, it's a great value, I'm sure for some people that you can buy this 80/20 cockpit put together and you don't have to personally put it together. I mean, it was a struggle for me to put mine together. In fact, I didn't do it well because my wheelbase is cockeyed a little bit. I didn't measure it just perfect and I'm off 2 millimeters on something and it made the whole thing cockeye. And so to have professionals, put it together on your behalf, obviously you're paying a premium for that. But if you have the money and you're a busy person, this might be something you're interested in.
When you
I
get old
recall.
like us, it's hard crawling around on the ground too, isn't it, Mike?
Right.
I also recall having to take something back off because I put it on facing the wrong direction.
Oh yeah.
Before we hit the next one on this script, we're going to jump off script a little bit. Steve, you just posted something hot off the presses. Why don't you tell us about that one real quick?
Yeah, so I signed up this morning for the to get notified when the new pedal comes out from SimuCube. So, anyways, they just sent me a 5% off wheelbases for 24 hours only using the code Active Pedal. So, I thought that might come in handy there for you, Mike.
Yeah.
And
If I was ready to buy,
the active pedals thing was interesting. Would be interesting too. That's a teaser for a little bit later. So yeah, if you're ready to buy your SimuCube today, go do it. Um, Speaking of things you've recently bought, Mike, we got a review on the Gomez Sim Industries GSI.
well, I certainly didn't buy this one, but boy, what a nice wheel. We got a proper review from Boosted Media, Will Ford. He loves it, is basically the bottom line. Um, he goes over in detail, like he usually does, what he thinks of it. The title of his video, "Is this the best ever sim racing wheel?" So if that doesn't give you some idea of what he thinks of it, then I don't think anything will.
Yeah, I've had the chance to hold this thing a couple times in the last couple months. I actually held it last week when I purchased my SemiCube, and it's impressive. The grips are awesome. They're almost too big for what I would like, and your thumb hole, you it's barely enough room for your thumb hole. But when you're holding it, it feels good. Like Will said, all the buttons, everything on there is aluminum. You're not going to worry about anything breaking. All the dials were great, good retention when you would click them. So it's an awesome wheel. I've only heard great things about this wheel, but yeah.
Where'd you hold it at?
Once at Lawrence's shop, we got hopped on that rig and we drove it around last month, and then at the Micro Center here in Tustin is where I bought the wheel, and they had this one actually Matt, they had this wheel for everybody to go and hop on and touch, and I was like, wow, it's pretty crazy. But they have a couple different GSI wheels there that you can purchase.
$1,250.
Yeah, there's a couple different models.
Wheels.
There's one that you could get for
Mhm.
11, and then 12, and then 13, but at that point I don't know the difference.
I mean, all these wheels in this price range, the 1200 to 1500. I mean, they're all great. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any choice. So, do I second guess? A little sometimes. I mean, you look at how much I paid for the cube controls with the VAT, and all the shipping and tax. It was almost as much as this wheel cost. And so, it's a comparable price.
So something I'm learning as I go for when I make my purchase later on is the aluminum caps, the buttons being aluminum, and even the trimming around like that screen there, and even the back plate, the material that this wheel uses, and in the materials in future wheels that you would want to purchase. But most of the good ones have an aluminum back casing as well that keeps it sturdy. But all about the construction. You could buy an expensive wheel, but if it's not constructed right or they don't use the right materials.
Like, could you drop it on the floor and not panic about it breaking? You almost looks like you could drop this and it wouldn't break. Like the way you described how it looks, they got little surrounds on the buttons to protect them. The screen is recessed and so forth.
I wouldn't go throwing it on the ground though, because it still has PCP on the inside, right? Or PC board.
Sure. The one drawback I don't like on this wheel over the one I have is the screw-in cabling. So you have to run a USB cord to the computer. You have to screw it into the back of the wheel, and yeah, it doesn't come loose. And I just love that magnetic thing on mine, where if the wheel starts spinning, after in a crash, and the cable needs to come loose, it does come loose.
And there's something about the bottom portion of this wheel that I can't fall in love with. I'm not 100% sold on just the way the design of the wheel itself. Everything else, I mean, you can customize your buttons if you'd like color wise, but something about the bottom half of it, I can't sell myself on for this wheel in particular.
It's not a terrible layout, but unless you're like a giant, those bottom buttons are hard to reach. Maybe that's just because I'm small, but I don't get a lot of functionality out of the buttons that I can't just reach real close, especially if I'm in the race conditions. All right, the next thing we have is a motion rig review, or it's not really a review, but we're going to check out a YouTube video and the website. It's the Mantis FS2 Formula style wheel. It's got two directions of freedom, so it can pitch and it can roll. It can't really do yaw. Uh, it's a Formula style seating. It is very adjustable, and it also is designed where you can pop basically pop a little switch and lower the wheel so that you can get in and out of the rig easily. So the price though, 2,500, I guess with motion, that's not terrible.
Now, only having the two DOF, would that be worth it? You're getting the up, down, and left and right for you folks that have the four corners. Is this, I guess, for that kind of cockpit that you can't really do too much?
Yeah, like with mine with the 4 actuators and using the Sim Racing Studio, it actually you can program it so it's actually using like 6 DOF because you get surge and traction loss too, even with just 4 actuators. So I mean, what'd you pay for your actuators, Brian? Because I built mine. What were yours?
It was like right around 3 grand, and that was with the Thanos and all the everything else. It was ready to go for that price.
Yeah, but like you said, that with the two actuators, even you can pitch and roll, which means you could do any combination of both of those as well. So it actually has it's not stuck with only pitching or rolling. So you can dip just the left front down or just the right front down, even though there's no actuator up there.
Yeah, I actually like this design. I'm curious about how strong the wheel mount will be, that it can articulate pretty easily, can come in and out and up and down. So I'm curious how strong that's going to be. You don't see those designs too often, but for a Formula cockpit, I kind of like it. I'm just curious how you get in and out of it comfortably. I think the wheel pedestal collapses forward, but
It does,
yeah.
yeah.
It has a
That'll
hook.
open up a lot of room.
It has a hook, yeah, that works almost kind of like a latch for an instrument case or a suitcase or something, or especially sound equipment. If you ever messing with sound equipment, you twist this latch and it really locks on there secure.
Now, how you guys getting in there? Now I think about it.
You climb over after you drop the wheel because you unlatch the wheel and it leans up almost against the pedals.
Yeah, you would almost have to have your legs hanging down to the floor and then lift the wheelbase up to you, and then you can put your feet
Kind of
back up, I
step
guess.
into it.
Yeah.
You break your neck if you're drunk racing.
It's a neat design, the way,
That never happened,
just the
Steve.
way the top part of it looks, the way it's all formula style. It's very minimalistic.
I can see you being done with the race. Not you, Mike, just anybody in general, just getting done with the race. And then you have that long thought, like, how am I getting out of this thing? And you're just going to have to flop your body out and roll over. But I'd like to see it. So I think the video we saw here is a rendering. So I want to see somebody get in and out of this thing comfortably. Maybe you have some
Yeah.
chains on the ceiling that you pull yourself in and out of, maybe.
And what if you
There you
have to
go.
pee?
Oh my God. I know sometimes in my rig, I can't get out of it fast enough. I can't imagine getting out of this thing.
Well, luckily we have catheters now. Big catheters.
That's right.
I'm waiting for my big catheter. I hope it's big enough.
Your eye
Okay,
catheter.
so the reason we have this on the show, guys, is pre-orders are expected to open Q4. So that's 4 days from now. With the first units expected to ship Q1 2023.
I wonder if in our G5 seats, if we get electrocuted, if you had to be in your seat like the regular NASCAR drivers do, huh, Brian?
Yeah, I don't know. I hope not.
You have to ground yourself somehow.
On the website where they're selling it, they have this cool picture of all the parts laid out on the floor for the entire project. And I think that's what they ship you. You have to put it together.
It's part of the journey, part of the fun.
All right, Brian. Looks like we're looking at a new competitor or new release in the VR world, and this sucker looks really non-bulky.
Yeah, it's an interesting design. It's different than I think I've ever seen. It's called a Mini X. It's a actually they're affiliated with another company. I'll remember it in a minute, but it's so it's a VR headset. What makes it really different is that instead of having the one face shield that you typically see, it's got individual shields on each eye. So it looks more like a real high tech pair of glasses or binoculars almost, where you have the two individual eyes. So very interesting design. It looks very futuristic and whatnot. It's so the some of the things was able to learn about this thing from Sebastian Ang in the MRTV review. It's not really a review. He was at a trade show and tried it out, but so it's got inside out tracking and outside in. So it supports outside in, which if it wouldn't really help you in racing, but if you have like the controllers for some of the other systems, you can use the hand controllers with the outside cube controllers thing. So so you can use outside or in or inside out for the Valve Index controller. So that's pretty cool. It's got OLED panels instead of the LCDs. Now, a lot of people have moved away from OLED um, because you couldn't do the subpixels in it, and so the resolution kind of suffered a little bit. OLEDs were always really good for like deep blacks, like a real true black is not really something you can get out of a regular LED screen, but the OLED screens do have that true black, so it's got a real dark, real depth in the dark colors. Um, he said it's very bright for OLED, which is good because typically the OLED screens are not quite as bright. Um, he also mentioned that the resolution is high. It's like 2500, 25 by 25 per eye, which is pretty high. That's getting up there again because it doesn't have the sub panels, sub pixels like the LEDs do. It might be equivalent to like a 4K, like a 2100 by 2100, like the HP Reverb. So but yeah, so it's an interesting looking design. They mentioned in the trade show that they're shooting for a December 2022 launch on this, so it's actually going to be coming out fairly soon. Um, and they didn't nail down a price yet, but he said it's probably going to be over $1,000, and that's all he could really commit to, just because the pricing of the components have been in such flux over the past 12 months.
I assume this uses a Steam VR since they use the index controllers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it says Panasonic in the
Yeah,
background. Are
Panasonic.
these
Yeah,
Panasonic?
that's right. It's a division of Panasonic. That's what I was trying to remember there.
It's got to be the smallest, lightest, less intrusive goggles I've seen yet. And if you could sim race on these, man, I'd be waiting for these because it doesn't have that bulky, you look at what David Hall when he races, when he used to stream, you would have that rift on your face, David, and this looks so big and heavy. Man, this looks this looks like it's less than half the weight.
Yeah, but once you get into the race, you don't really. It doesn't feel heavy. It's not like it's not any heavier than wearing a helmet. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an indication of the weight, because I think there's a lot more bases in the VR headsets, like the HP Reverb is. And this seems like it's cutting down on some of that the bulky size of it, but I bet you the weight's probably comparable, would be my guess. But the design is a lot more streamlined looking. It looks more
Smaller.
like glasses. Yeah, it looks more like glasses than that big monocle thing that goes over your eyes. So it's just a neat design, and I'm really interested to hear more about this. The 2560 by 2560 screens, that's a pretty high resolution. So, I mean, this could give some of the higher end headsets like the Vero um, a run for their money for being top of the line headset.
There's no over the top of the head strap. Like the strap just goes straight back around the back of your head. That's kind of unique too, right?
And that might be a pretty good indicator that it's lighter because the other ones
Mhm.
don't have that strap. It basically
It
won't hold.
falls. Yeah. No, that's
It,
a good point.
it's interesting. On my G2, I bought a little kit that adds to the G2, and it's got a big thick foam strip that goes over the top of the head, but it's got a counterweight that you put on the back strap behind your head, and it completely takes any of the pressure off your face, so you don't even really even know that you're wearing anything.
That's cool.
You're saying make it heavier to make it more comfortable?
Well, it counterweights it, so it takes the mask completely off your face. There's no pressure on your face whatsoever. That's always the part that kind of irritated me a little bit, but you don't even
But
feel
Like
it.
your chin falls?
you're shifting what's called the center of mass from the forward to in the middle of your head.
Right. So you get the halo around your top of your head is supporting the weight, not on your bridge of your nose.
It's like if you've ever marched drums, the bass drum is actually the lightest to carry because you carry it high, whereas the snare drum and the tenors are actually harder on the lower back because they're at that lower level, and so the weight's just so much further forward on you. I can turn anything into marching band if I want. But maybe not this thing. What do you think of we got the reviews here on the from Sim Racing Corner on the new Logitech Pro DDD wheel. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, Sim Racing Corner got his hands on it and did some racing. I mean, he had good things to say about how it felt as far as the force feedback. Like almost like feeling new stuff maybe he hasn't felt before, kind of thing. But I don't know.
He actually used the word spectacular. So, and kind of made the comment about how everybody just assumed this thing was going to be garbage. And we kind of, I don't think we were going to call it garbage, but we were very dismissive of it when we first saw it based on what it looked like and being Logitech and being $1,000. But he seemed to really like this wheel. So we'll see. We'll see how it is. He was even comparing it to some of the higher end direct drives.
Yeah, he's got a Leo Bodnar that he compared it to, and he said the fidelity was better than Leo Bodnar. They has a paid 3,000 pounds, however much that is in U.S. dollars.
Wow. That's saying something, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, and he said the pedals felt really good too. He said they looked cheap as hell, but he said they performed really well. So I don't know. I don't think I'd buy one, but interesting with the fidelity he was talking about in it.
Yeah, he had this mounted on a rig too. So we had that question going into it. How easy would it be to mount to a rig? And he had it mounted. But yeah. Again, if you want to spend the $1,100 for it, then go for it. Or is it $9? I can't remember. But yeah, he really likes the wheel. He like I said, he called it spectacular.
So let's wait for some other reviewers and see what some of the other people that we normally listen to, what do they say about it? Do they say the same thing? So I wouldn't go buying this off of one guy's video, but not yet.
I will say this: as much as we've been knocking them as the entry level, like you said, my G27 lasted years. It actually held up to a lot of abuse. So um, they don't build them cheap in that sense. They definitely have some durability to them.
And that's the big box manufacturers probably they can do that. They could, if they're going to put it into a store, it's probably going to have some decent quality to it where you could beat the heck out of it and it stayed doing pretty good. But yeah, we'll see what the staying power is on this guy and what it can do from here.
I wonder if you could put a bigger wheel on this. I mean, that was one downfall. He said, the wheel felt cheap.
That's it. That's all they got so far is that one wheel that it comes with. So unless they can find some aftermarket hub or a wheel you could attach to it, then potentially.
Yeah, it does have a quick release, I remember. So that leaves the opportunity open for Logitech to offer different wheels.
I know some of the companies made adapters on the old G27 and G29 that you could put bigger wheels on, but they were pretty hard on the motor on those.
You wonder if the DIY community will pick up on that and come up with something that would work.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. And the other weird thing we talked about this wheel last week too was it, turns what 1.5 or 2 times and stops.
It doesn't spin all the way. Yeah, keep spinning. That is odd.
Maybe they have a half a direct drive motor in there.
Yeah, what would make it stop? What would I'm curious what's stopping it.
That's got to be the way it's wired. I think wiring, like there's a wiring harness, so they o- so they make it where you can only twist it so many times before it hard stops. That's just a guess, but it eliminates a lot of engineering and design problems if you have a hard stop, because how else do you wire it when it's a continuous spin? You know,
I don't know, this new wheel I picked up, you can just spin it forever for whatever reason and it
right?
doesn't stop whatsoever.
Yeah, a
Yeah, the
great
Fanatec's are
design.
like that.
Yeah, Fanatec's got it that way. So
Something the helicopters do, maybe. I don't know.
Well, this next one has definitely more than two directions of freedom, right, Brian?
Yeah, this is a cool rig. It's from Simcraft. And, looks like it might have been the video is on Instagram. It looks like it might have been from a trade show or something. But um, so it's got 6 degrees of freedom. They're showing it. Somebody driving it going up Mount Washington. They said that that was a good track to use in order to show off some of the motion in this. But so it's just it's a badass rig. It's got the the overhead bar, the round bars, tubular bars that reach over top, and it's like a fully encapsulated cockpit. It's got a big I only see triples, big triple screens. Really cool. It's an awesome setup, and Simcraft, they're just top of the line as far as rigs go.
It almost looks like the centerpiece of the cockpit is suspended, right, just kind of floating in there.
Yeah, but what I love about it is it does have a lot of motion. So there's a lot of motion in this thing, but the monitors are moving with the driver, and I think that's really important when you've got a motion rig that has a lot of travel in it, because I just can't imagine if my monitors didn't move. Just getting a sense of, you start looking over top the wheel because the monitors are down low as you're leaning back, so this doesn't do that. All these three big monitors move at the same time as you're racing, and I think that's the best way to go if you're doing monitors in motion.
What's interesting is Coco. Um, he Peter Peter Kopko, if you guys don't know who I'm talking about. He and I built our rigs at the same time, and he had, I think they were 32-inch monitors they originally put on it, and they moved with the machine, but then he wanted to build like his own cockpit, so he got the I think it was a 60-inch monitors, and so with those he had to go stationary, and because it gave him like a full wraparound vision on it. And I asked him, if what he liked better, and he said it really didn't make any difference whether the monitors were moving with the rig or not. So those were his thoughts.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's 60-inch monitors. You probably have a hard time missing that damn screen when they're that big.
Is
I,
Simcraft
I agree with
top of the
Ryan.
mountain when it comes to rigs?
It's one of them. I mean, this is the
Yeah, for
one that
sure.
Kyle Busch has. Denny Hamlin has this one.
For
So
how awesome
there's
it is. We talked about this rig a couple weeks ago regarding its sound, but for how awesome it is, it does look a little overwhelming. Like I feel like I on a random Wednesday night, something might go wrong that is going to screw up my racing night, and I have to go in there and figure it out. But that aside, this thing, it's incredible every time I see it.
You need a
If
lot of space for that rig too.
if my wife's
Yeah, sure
fan
do.
only account
Tall
goes better,
ceilings.
maybe I'll get one.
Where would you butt? I mean, can you get a bunch of butt kickers? And I mean, you got tubes everywhere. You could put butt kickers all over this thing.
How'd you get her to start one? Because that's a great idea.
Well, she doesn't know about it, but
That's even better.
I think Brian, you're onto something with the monitors moving with you. Though everything moves in this scenario, and and I think if you're going to spend this kind of money on motion and you're going to not do VR, you got to think about having the monitors move with you. I think that's key, like you said.
Now,
Yeah,
but
and sorry, Dave.
question.
Go ahead.
Um, can't you change the settings in iRacing to move, is basically synchronize with your motion rig if you have the stationary monitors?
Yeah, you can undo the lock to the horizon, with the slider, which is how I run it already.
Yeah, my car moves around with the stationary monitors.
So it might work, but I like the idea of the monitors moving with it.
yeah, I think in this rig, that's the only way is either VR or these monitors. I don't think you could do 60-inch monitors on this thing.
I think VR might take away from the beauty of the rig. You don't get to see it.
Well, you got to show it off. That's who cares what you see. It's what everybody else sees.
All right. Well, the next thing we have up is a PXN V10 unboxing. This is the YouTube channel is Geek Street, and he's reviewed this entry level force feedback wheel. Steve, you give this one a look.
Yeah, I looked over the review. I mean, it's pretty cheap wheel. He said it has 3.2 Newton meters of strength on it. It has clutches on it also besides paddle shifters, unlike the G29. And he said all the pedals feel the same. They've got like a weird adjustment on them that tightens the spring up from the bottom, so you can take the play out of them. He didn't seem too impressed with those, but he said it was a good entry wheel and works on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 3. And there's also a mobile app, so I guess you can adjust things on the fly. It hooks up to Bluetooth, so you could adjust your wheel and wheel while you're driving, I guess, off the mobile app.
Biggest
Yeah,
thing I noticed at a glance is tiny wheel. It's a really small oval wheel.
that's what I was going to say. Very tiny. That thumbnail doesn't do it justice. It's a little itty bitty wheel. But
Did you see?
cogs and gears are what that wheel's composed of.
Did you see how he put the wheel on? How he put it on, and there's a nut that tightens up to keep the wheel from flying off.
It might be plastic as well, that wheel nut. Oh, did you notice watching the video when he was driving, you can hear him actually clicking the shifter, the paddles? It was really loud, but he did say that the clutch paddles didn't have any noise or any retention whatsoever. It was just kind of like a paddle that maybe a micro switch of some sort, but no click. But the actual up and down shifting was a very loud clicking sound.
Yeah, clutch pedals are not supposed to have a click. They're analog, and
Makes
so
sense.
it's a paddle that works like a pedal.
Perfect. Yeah. He said it didn't make any sound or any clicking or nothing.
$330 US. You get the pedals, the shifter, the base, the wheel, the whole thing.
That wheel was really small though, so if anybody's just watch the video, look at the wheel. It's got to be one of the smallest you can get.
It's like 8 inches or 9 inches, or I don't know.
It makes me think
It's
of one of
really
those
small.
little racing console games that you could get when back in the 80s that have the tiny little wheel. And
I had that guy and had a little screen with it and a little shifter to the right.
yeah. All right, so it looks like we have some Intel versus AMD tests that are out. Donnie.
Yeah, so I'm not the most computer savvy. So I'll leave it for one of you guys. But it looks like the Intel and AMD, the Intel Core i7, the 13700K, and the AMD Ryzen 7, the 7700X, were put to the test against each other. And for those of you who read and went through this and understand it, what did you guys come up with?
I read it. Um, and anyways, on the desktop applications, like Photoshop and video editing and stuff like that, it looked like the Ryzen, actually the 7950X was the top, and then the 7700 after that. But in gaming, they were pretty even. What was really interesting was Seta Corsa, the old AMD Ryzen 7 5800 XD X3D, which is a chip that Mike always kind of refers to. It actually blew away those in racing. So I think it'll be interesting when Ryzen comes out with theirs. I think it's a 7700 X3D. That may be the chip to go to. I think I'm gonna hold off until they come out with that chip to do any upgrades.
So is it sounding like Ryzen for the chip, and then obviously NVIDIA for the graphics?
Yeah, I'm not sure what I mean. That was the only gaming sim that they tried out was a set of Corso, and like I said, it was the old chip, that the old 5800X 3D chip that whipped both the new chips, the Intel and the AMD. So it might they didn't have an iRacing comparison, but I know everybody on iRacing, talks about that X3D chip being probably the fastest one for iRacing at this point. So it might be worth waiting till they come out with the 7700 X3D chip.
As you go down the list and look at all the different titles, I mean, they're pretty evenly matched in some cases, the Intel and the AMD. So, like you said, it's probably best to wait.
Yeah, especially with the AMD, with the new Ryzen chips, the motherboards are dang expensive. You can't get one for, I think, less than $600 at this point. And the top ones are like $1,200, which that's a lot of money to spend. And the new memory is expensive too. The 5 gigahertz stuff.
And so, yeah, if you want to pick all the best components, Steve, it's a pretty hefty bill, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be really hefty at this point.
For someone who only has this computer for iRacing, triple monitor setup, I I don't understand why I would need something of this nature. I cap my FPS at 84. I know that's more graphics than anything, but I don't know what I'm missing out on. So maybe I just got to see somebody else's rig and see what am I missing. I mean, I feel like it works perfectly fine. All my speeds are fine, and I just don't understand the need for the highest level CPU chip.
I think if you're running VR, it makes a huge difference. I mean, even with my 4090 chip, I ran into some problem. Actually reinstalled iRacing this week, and all of a sudden I started losing frames per second with that new 4090 card. But actually, it was a setting in the graphics on in Windows that I changed, and everything went way back up. I turned everything up to 90 frames per second, and it's running like a charm now. So, but I mean that still is a bottleneck on for VR, is either CPU bound or graphics card bound. I don't know on monitors, depending on what resolution you're running, that will probably make a difference on if you want to upgrade your system or not. What type of monitors are you running, Mike?
This Asus 1080p's cheap one.
Yeah, I think once you go to 1440s or you go to 2K, then you probably need to upgrade your whole system to run those.
I think to Donnie's point and question, Donnie, I think it's perspective on if you're in this long term like I've been in iRacing 11 years now. I think I'm on my third iRacing computer. You're thinking when I build a computer, 'cause I need it to last as long as I can before I need to build another one. And so that's why you spend the money to get the best money can buy because you want it to, last you 4 or 5 years before you have to do it again. It's been a while since I've built my computer, and my frames per second are dipping sometimes below 30 on some of these races. And so I'm kind of, that's kind of on the radar too, that maybe I need to start thinking about doing a build.
Yeah, I benchmarked this build, maybe once a quarter, every 6 months, and it still gets good results. It's only 2.5 years old, this setup, but yeah, I was just curious on. I get the VR standpoint. I'll hopefully never have to do that. I get sick, so. But yeah, so far, when you guys had your fourth monitor for you triple monitor guys, and you have the fourth monitor panel for scoring, does that do anything to any of your settings, any of your graphics or your speed? Because
I
it's
don't
not.
know. I mean, I don't run without it, so I don't know the answer to that. I always have used it. I don't
All
think
right. Well,
so.
we're going to go ahead and move on. This next topic is, I think, was just about predicted recently, right? When we were talking about this issue of these cards actually possibly catching fire. Um, and that's what's happening. There's actually reports on two different articles of 4090s GPUs actually catching fire. They're trying to blame it on the cable. And as I glance through the articles, I can't see anything mentioning the issue about the power supply communication issue that the other guy brought up. It seems like they're trying to point towards that the cable was just bent too much. And so I'm curious if they know about the power supply issue or not. And if this is what was happening is the power supply is just actually overloading the cable.
What's interesting is, I've got that card, and that 16 pin connector comes out of the side, or actually it would be, well, it'd be the side of the card, and it's hard to get the door closed. I mean, I had to route it I've kind of got a big loop to it because I could see that being a problem. I don't know why they didn't, put it on the end or whatever, because that is a stiff cable. But I believe these two articles are on it's on the same case. Um, the guy that caught on fire, I believe it's just the one reported incident so far.
Yeah, it's two articles, I believe. Yeah, you're right, Steve. It's just the one incident. How's yours doing? Your house still good? Nothing's on fire?
Yeah, no, I got my extinguisher close by now. I used to keep it in the kitchen. Now I got it in the in my shop, in the next to the rig here,
It's
just in
not a bad
case.
idea.
Do you honestly, now knowing that this could be an issue, do you think more about it? Do you look at it more as you're in the room?
Oh yeah. I mean, I only leave that computer on while I'm in here. Otherwise it's off. I mean, it is on my mind. I mean, I had an old Android phone that caught on fire, it was like a it was a Pixel. It was before the Pixel series. It caught on fire. They're having issues. So, and it almost, I mean, I thought I was going to burn the house down. It's lit on fire on my desk.
Now, the article does refer to the same case, but there's an update on the second article that there are two reports of two separate cards that have melted as of 10/24.
I've seen lipo batteries
So
explode in person, but I'm curious how many computers have actually burnt down houses.
I had one of my clients, I do IT work for him, and they actually had a router. It stopped working. I went to go look at it, and it actually melted. And it was a Netgear router, which I'd never seen that happen before. And thank God it blew the circuit before it burned down their building.
That's definitely a bad look for Nvidia on top of the issues they just recently had with EVGA.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, especially, was it the power supply that caused it, or was it the cable itself?
Now, do you turn your power supply off when you're out of the room, or just the computer?
No, I've got separate, um strips for each one of my components, so I can turn them on and off separately. And I've got like 7 power strips, and so I turn everything off.
Well, probably because of the smoke damage, he might need some air freshening, right? So the next topic we have is actually an air freshener upgrade. How about that, Brian? You're the guy with the candles.
Yeah, it's interesting take. I don't know if this guy was going for the scented smell because he's just using like one of those pine cone the air fresheners. But the cool thing that he did was he used the Arduino's and probably SimHub or something like that to make this the that pine tree scented candle thingy move as he's racing. So it's hanging like it would from a rear view mirror. And if he turns right in the car, the scented pine tree swings to the right. If he turns left, it swings the other way. If he hits the brakes, it moves forward. So he's this guy named James F890 is what his handle is, but he's rigged this thing up using the Arduino's to make this scented thing just swing around. It's really ingenious that he was able to do it. I don't think it's anything that's being marketed or anything. It's just maybe this guy's showing what he can do with this system.
That's pretty funny. Now, just be
Fascinating.
aware if you do that with a helium balloon, you'll actually have to reverse all the axes. Science nerd out on you. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
clever, but
It's a
that's overkill.
fascinating project. Hey, we want, the
Yeah, full
real thing,
immersion.
right? We're simulating driving. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about it is it just shows you some of the possibilities, maybe the endless possibilities of things that you can do using that system, the Arduino system. It's really cool.
All right, well, let's jump into another
Okay,
one that's
so
hot
I
off
want
the
to,
press. Or go
well,
ahead.
wait, David, one more thing on this one is when I first saw this, I was like, it had never occurred to me that this could be done until I saw it. And this next story, David, is kind of the same way. It never occurred to me that you could do a product like this one.
Yeah, so it's
So go
apparently
ahead.
completely software configurable SimuCube pedal. And basically they just put out one product, and I don't know much more about how it works except that it's completely configurable, and you can basically change the behavior of the springs of the resistance of the pedal. You can actually make it a really short throw or a long throw, change the stiffness of it, all within the software, and not have to do anything to the hardware.
It's a fascinating design. I mean, basically it's a pedal on a swivel, a simple swivel at the bottom, and it's got an arm that's attached to a motor, a direct drive kind of motor. It doesn't spin, but it moves back and forth, so to speak, like an articulating arm that's sideways. And so that will articulate the brake, and and it's all configurable, like David said, where the software determines how stiff that pedal is. Um, and so the motor is providing the resistance. So this is the first set of pedals that I know of without rubbers or any kind of, for resistance that do wear down after time, without hydraulic or load cell, really. And so this is a very unique design. They have haptics built in, and that's the other thing. I mean, Steve, you talked about the haptic system you just bought on your pedals. This is built right into it. The motor itself providing the haptic.
Yeah, that's something else. I mean, that's what our there's haptics on our actuators for our motion rig that vibrate through the sim racing software. But this pedal, I mean, it really intrigues me. I'm definitely I hope it's not too much money. I'm gonna start put some money away now to get one. I mean, I've got hydraulic pedals, but I mean, it's hydraulic and it's got, it's got rubber bumpers on them. I think this might be a huge game changer. I'm pretty excited about this pedal.
Yeah, it could
A,
actually
a
be pretty
different
disruptive.
profile. Sorry, David.
It could actually be what's called a technology disruptor, completely shake up the market.
Yeah, this is the first I got to see. It was I was just sitting here watching it, and it's very interesting. I'm curious, like what could go wrong, like within the software to prevent you from running, and what you'd have to fix. I'm sure they'll have all that figured out by the time they release this thing. And are all three pedals going to look the same?
They
So
are actually selling this pedal. You can use it for gas or brake, and they're just going to sell a different pedal plate. I think that's what I understood.
So probably as cars are going
yeah,
on
you
and
buy
losing
the
the touch
same
pedal.
pedal for brake or throttle. I think it's what Steve is saying.
Yeah, so you could. I mean, like with mine, I probably just buy the one pedal for a brake and try that out.
Buy them one at a time, and then if you like it, get the throttle. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, or save up for another year.
What are you guys guessing? So the Pro wheel is 14, the Ultimate's 24. So what are you guys projecting this pedal to be?
1,000 single pedal.
Well, I'm saying 2K. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna save up for.
I'll say 1750 for the pedal.
It's not three pedals. It's not two pedals. It's one pedal.
I'll say 1751. Price is Right style.
Okay, so I watched a good portion of this stream on Twitch. It's kind of hard to understand because they're European and English isn't their first language. It's obvious, but basically you have a profile for each car, and you set the stiffness and the throw distance and everything that you would normally adjust for a particular car, and then you save that profile. So every time you get in the rig, you load a profile of the rig of the car that you're driving. And the other thing is these are shareable and can have people on the internet that put up a profile of such and such car, like an Indy car, and you could download it and basically run their pedal settings. And so I imagine, if you bought this thing, that's how you would set it up. You would go on the forums and download a bunch of different profiles for a bunch of different cars that people have put together, and that's how you'd get started.
I kind of understood it was kind of self-learning too as you were driving. Did you get that too, Mike?
Yeah, the software does a lot of stuff that they had trouble describing uh, verbally, I think. And yeah, I think they did allude to something like that, Steve.
Earlier in the chat, David, I mentioned we can do something similar like that with our pedals. But now, if I'm hearing you can do it, I don't know how many profiles you can have. We can only do 5. So now I challenge Lawrence. I want more than 5 profiles on my visor app for these pedals. It'd be nice to have it per car and not have to take the notes and keep configuring them. But that's an awesome idea to be able to have a different setting per car, and even if you get
Yeah.
crazy, per track.
We can change the curve, like we can make the pedal move faster at the beginning or the end, so you can on my cup car I have it accelerate a little bit slower. It makes it a little bit harder for me to spin the car out until I get the pedal all the way down. I like the flat setting for sports cars because they have built-in traction control. What's different here is you can actually, how your clutch and brake are the same mechanism. They just have different stoppers. They have different shims in there to change. One has a spring and the other one has the hard rubber shims, right? This you can literally change those shims out with the flick of a button. You can actually change how heavy the pedal is.
Yeah, that's the part that really interests me. It's pretty exciting stuff.
I mean, that's pretty exciting, but on the same hand, I'm so happy with my Sim Coaches pedals, and I like having the same feel. So I don't know if I had these, if I would change the setting because I just like the same brake feeling in every car, so that I know where 100% is.
Well, the part that interests me is when they were talking about the self-learning. So maybe, at each track you go to, maybe you can have the same feel, but maybe the software will react to, change in weather or change in the way the track is, the hotness of the track, so you don't get wheel slip or wheel lock. I don't know. It'd be really interesting to see what the outcome is on these.
When I see the design of the pedal,
Okay.
I hope I articulate myself when I say this right, but is it moving away from the immersion of the simulator? Because it's moving in a direction to where it doesn't look like it belongs in a car. If that makes any sense. I don't know how I'm trying to articulate that, but when I see the pedal, I don't fall in love with it quite yet.
The real question will be,
You're
does
talking
it
about
feel
the
like a real
haps,
pedal?
right?
Yeah, just the pedal in general. I get the idea behind it and how in the technology. I don't know, something about it doesn't. I don't know.
I think what they're trying to obtain here is that it's going to feel, more like a real vehicle is what they're after compared to, I mean, my hydraulic pedal, my HPP feels great, but I mean, it still doesn't feel like, my Dodge truck does.
See,
It's different.
the Sim Cubes do. I mean, not the Sim Coaches pedals do. They literally feel like you're pushing a real gas pedal and a real brake pedal. Donnie, you got to agree
I
with me
think
on that.
That's where I 100% agree. And then with Lawrence talking about coming out with ABS incorporated in the pedal, I don't know. I don't want it to be a sim coaches versus simicube discussion here, but when I look at the simicube one, I just can't. I just the look of it is just kind of, I don't know. I took my pedals apart today because I'm inverting them, and I was just happy with how mechanical they are. And I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell.
well, if you're going on look only, you got. I mean, Sim Coaches wins that hands down. Now, I want to read off a couple of features that they list. You can customize the brake pressure up to 150 kilograms, pedal travel distance, brake air gap, ABS, traction control, and more. There's no rubbers, there's no oil, there's no springs, there's no hydraulic, there's no degrading parts to service or replace. It's zero maintenance. And then utilize sim telemetry data and true force feedback in the pedals. Combine it with the SimiCube wheelbase for a true immersive experience. Now, the software that they designed for these pedals, especially specifically the haptic part of it, which is really delivered through the motor itself, he indicated that they're going to release new software and firmware for the SimiCube 2 lineup of wheelbases next spring that will take advantage of that. And he's basically saying that the SimiCube 2 Pro and Sport and Ultimate will have this haptic kind of feel in the bases later next year.
That's really interesting too. That should be a game changer with the base, because I know, I mean, I don't know, have you had any issues with the software that you're running on your SimiCube you just got?
Oh, negative, not yet. I haven't hooked it up yet. I'm actually intimidated because I've been watching some videos, but hopefully doing that this weekend, getting it going. But I don't know. That's very interesting. I did hear about that part, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I should hopefully plug it in this weekend and see how it goes.
Yeah, because I know Patrick from Metro Ford, he's got this SimiCube soft or SimiCube base and the software, and he cries every time he has to update it because he's got to redo all his settings. So this may be huge with their new software.
Well, and they also alluded to the software, even the portion where you make profiles per car will be incorporated into the wheel as well. Um, and he also stated in no uncertain terms that the SemiCube 2 wheelbase is not going anywhere. They're not updating it, even though it's from years ago. It's they still feel that it's a complete product that's designed to live a lifetime, and it's still the best wheelbase out there. Is basically what he said, and he put together, he put to bed any rumors of them potentially upgrading their wheel or updating the wheel.
They did say that
They're
they would update the firmware and software as they go along.
right.
Right.
Right. Firmware and software are definitely going to be updated with what they've learned on the pedal project. But the hardware is not being updated.
Yeah, I think most of these direct drive wheels, the majority of them, I mean, the motors on them are commercial motors. There's no reason for them to fail. I think the software with all the companies is a huge, huge difference.
Game changer, I think. This will change the industry a little bit. Haptics is going to be into everything. We were talking in the group chat, are shifters and handbrakes and sequential and H pattern, are those, are we going to get haptics in those now where you can feel a transmission clicks and all that?
When you miss a gear and you're trying to jam it in, that'd be awesome.
Well, I'm sure there will be more to come on it later. We'll be following up on that quite a bit. We got one more hardware to hit off really quick. It's a button box. EP Lab is taking pre-orders now on a GTL Pro button box. I like the layout, and it also features illuminated buttons, which is, I guess, cool if you're not running VR. It's pricey though. It's 650 euros.
Yeah, I got excited when I saw it. Then I saw the price and I was like, never mind. I didn't look any further at it, but the rotary knobs he uses are good quality. I think they're actually aluminum caps as well, but they have a good nice click to them. But I mean, $700. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it.
It's a nice unit. There's no question. But at that price, I mean, you expect nice. But hey, if you're looking for that signature piece, it's a great box. I mean, when I built my rig, I really felt like the button box is a signature piece. And but I didn't spend 649. I spent 350 on my button box. But I felt like that was a lot for a button box.
Yeah, this looks like a really high quality button box, but yeah, it's pretty pricey for, I bet. I mean, the knobs and everything it looks like the equipment's high quality, so.
All right, it's time for some NIS results. We were at Homestead last week, and Steve, according to the sheet, you were the only one who ran Friday.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, here we go. So on Friday night, I started 31st. The track was pretty slick. There was only 2 cautions. The first run was 45 laps, and then there was a caution on lap 63, and then one on 118. I finished 9th, and I gained 57 I rating.
Cool, cool. And then it looks like you also ran Saturday fixed.
Yeah, I had Patrick from Metro Ford. He was at work, and so he spotted for me Saturday morning, or yes, actually Saturday morning I ran two. Saturday I ran 2 races. But anyways, so he spotted for me, and I started 31st. There's only 3 cautions, and I finished 3rd, and I gained another 86 I rating. So that was the first time I ever had a spotter for a whole race. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I ran Friday night. It was P16. I didn't put down my result, so I don't really remember what happened. How about Sunday? Well, how about you on Sunday Open, David? P2.
Yeah, man. If we'd had a little bit longer race or a little bit longer green flag run at the end, we had one green flag stop. I might have gotten the leader. I got within about 2.5 seconds of him and just passed everybody else. Just huge long run speed, and also didn't have to use my tires up to pass people because if they tried to block the low side, I could get around them on the outside. So it was a good run, and it was nice to kind of break that downhill slide that I was on.
Yeah, you had a great run.
Okay,
I
Sunday fix.
I ran
Oh,
the
go ahead.
open too.
Sunday open.
Yeah, I ran the open. I ended up sixth. I started 10th. Um, anyways, it was a good race, and I ended up gaining another 74 points. So I'm like 1951, actually 1950 now.
Well done. Good top 10. Yeah, I ran Sunday fix P16. Got totally destroyed about lap 50 by a dive bomber who caused 3 to 4 cautions in a row. I had 5.5 minutes damage. Interestingly, the car was still fast, and I was able to march back up through the field. I got wrecked again for another minute of damage, was at 6.5 minutes. Still got up through the field and actually led some laps. It was craziest thing ever. Stayed out on one of those late cautions and to save a set of tires for that final caution, but it actually never came, and I faded back to P16.
Yeah, I
Steve,
ran the same time when you did. That was kind of fun. I started 20th. I got to sixth place, and there was a bad crash. I got caught up in it. I could see it happening. I just started getting greedy instead of playing it safe, and got a meatball. And so I had 8 minutes of repairs. I came out 27th, and Mike said, "Just keep racing." So I kept racing, and anyways, I got up to 19th, and I only lost one iRacing point. So that's why I stayed at the 1950.
nice. All right, Wednesday open Martinsville, David P7.
Yep, the kind of good runs are finally coming back. The I ran 1A open and kind of learned basically what you have to do because these things have been an absolute caution fest. Really, not any fun. We had 27 cautions, and I already know from chat that was not the record. Uh, but the strategy was basically don't race. Just try to let everybody go. Just pick up positions when it's pretty clear you can really get by them, and especially for the first 150 laps, I would just go ahead and let myself fade back and fade back and fade back, and then ultimately most of the spots I gained were because people kept getting disqualified. I even had 18X, had to serve a drive through, but got the lucky dog 2 laps later, because it literally every 3 laps there was a caution. Longest run was 10, and it's just people just will not change the way they race this car. They race. They have poor racecraft. They say, "Oh, it's racing," but no, it's not racing if you're wrecking every 2 laps. And it's not the same person every time, but nobody will just change their mentality and sometimes just ride and save the car and save your stuff and save your exes, and they won't do it.
They won't.
Uh,
Tony
and
Rochette wrecked out.
yeah, and I forgot to mention I probably won't run another one because it wasn't fun. I'd rather just play at Daytona in the sprint series.
Hey, you got a top 10, kid and walk away. Stephen Llewellyn was wrecked out as well. Um, I was a dude did not finish, and it was bad. I mean, bad, bad. I was the first caution. So 2 cars spun in front of me, completely blocking up the track on the right side. I turned hard left to go around them, but I overdid it and then slammed the left front hard into the inside wall. I broke the toe link, so that would be a long night. So I ended up parking it. I was thinking, I'm dead last. Everybody else is still running. I have 8 minutes damage. I'll never get those laps back. I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours. And so I went and got dinner. All right. Thursday open, P26. I survived the first 4 cautions. And on the fifth one, I got spun by a blinker and actually had 0 damage. Then I survived until the 7th caution where I T boned a guy real hard. because the track was blocked. I had 5 seconds required, but 4:40 optional. I stayed on the lead lap, and then caution 10, I got involved in another huge wreck and broke the toe link. Right around, rode around until caution 16, uh, where I got spun. I didn't touch anything, was sitting at 14x. Then I rode around to caution 25 and I got collected again and had to do a drive through penalty. From that point, just rode it home P26. We had 31 cautions, 31. I think that's a record. This was top split. Matt Busa, the Coke driver, won the race. There were many, many high-end drivers in this race. There were three different pros, black licenses. There were several. There were at least a dozen people above 4 and 6,000 I rating. But just like David said, it doesn't matter. We were wrecking every 2 laps. It was just insanity.
I know they like to follow the schedule.
Okay, moving.
Is that a problem? Do you keep that race go? Is it always like this at Martinsville?
It has been for a while, and you can't take it
Yeah.
off the schedule. It's NIS. It follows NASCAR.
Guess you just skip it, I guess, if you don't want to race it.
All right, moving on to other official. I ran Skippies at Redscoggin. Started P6 out of 13 by lap 1. I was up to P3. I eventually took the lead by lap 3 and led the race until lap 8 at halfway. When I spun through the fast corner all by myself, I fell back to third and kept it until the end of the race. And on the final lap, I got to second, P2. I was super happy with that. Later, I started 14th out of 19. Uh, Lap 1, turn 1, a huge accordion checkup, and I get the front knocked off. Brought it home P12. Steve, you ran A open
Yeah, I ran that in in the morning.
Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday morning when Patrick was still spotting for me, spotted for 2 races. And let's see, I qualified first and got caught a lap down pitting on green, got the wave around and ended up finishing 5th. So it was another really good race. Yeah, I liked Homestead. I think I've gained like 600 points since I started with you guys. So I really appreciate all the help, and everybody's giving me pointers to race out there in the wild.
Now, in a couple of months, when you sail over 3,500 I rating, does that mean you have to forfeit all of your championships in OBRL past?
I hope not. I hope I don't have to send them back, especially the helmet.
They'll just kick you out of the
All right.
league.
Yeah, I'll be kicked out.
All right, ran some other hosted events this week. Chris McGuire Supercars at Michigan started P20, ended up P5. Then we ran the 87 cars and the Porsche Rough at Talladega. Wow, that's fun. Um, I missed the start, ended up getting a caution uh, later and ended up getting wrecked out anyway. Then we ran Gen 5 unrestricted at Talladega and I won the race. I came from the back and actually won it and super happy with that. That has got to be the best combo car and track. Um, 250 going into the corners. You can get the speed up so high. It's just insanity out there. But I'm good at it, and I was able to march up through the field and miss the big wreck. And I put the replay in the chat. I mean, it was quite a save. I mean, they were all wrecking around me, and I just kind of plow through there. All right, and with that, we'll go to final thoughts. Brian McCubbin.
So last night I I got done what I was working on, and I was gonna hop in the rig. It was a little bit too late to catch Martinsville, unfortunately. So I decided to fire up a AI race. I haven't done very much AI racing, and I had a lot of fun with it. Needed to need you need to kind of dial into to the right strength of field to make it competitive. To get that set right, because it's hard to tell where you're at without getting in there and kind of adjusting on that. But I think after doing that, actually ran two short 20 lap races just to mess around with it. Had a lot of fun with it. So I think in the off season I'm going to try set myself up like a season in AI and just try that out. Run a race when I feel like it. It's nice you don't have to wait for a certain time. Whenever you got time, you can hop in and do a race. And they keep points and everything through a season. So I'm gonna try it out. I had a decent amount of fun on it.
All right, very good. I've been running AI on Tuesday nights, just to see what I got for Wednesday, just to run some laps. And instead of going into a practice room, I'm just doing AI, and it's been working. I like it.
It's great for testing your stuff too when you're trying to figure out if something's going wrong.
Yeah, I
That's
noticed. I noticed one of the things when I was racing the AI is the cars in there are good at saving tires because I would get a lead and then they would start running me down. So it's something that you need to learn and work on in those AI races.
all right. David Hall, final thoughts.
Not a whole lot. It's nice to be back on the climb again. It's crazy how wild the iRating swings can be. And you try not to pay attention to every little small chunk unless I guess you're trying to climb. But when you go from 4,000 to 3,200, you kind of notice, because it happens over just a long streak of bad races. But I'm already back up to 3,600, and I hope that continues next week when we go to Phoenix.
All right. Bonnie Spiker, final thought.
Not much. I had a humbling experience last night as I was putting together the ASR 6 rig, thinking I was going to weld a better chassis. That's not a chance. That thing is rock solid. I put it together last night, about 3 hours. I look at it. I got the half of my pedals on it right now. It pops out, and I got the semi cube mounted to it. So hopefully I can get that thing slid under my monitor stand this weekend and fire it up and work out all the kinks and whatnot. But super happy with the ASR 6. Looks great. Got the black version, and yeah, fingers crossed for this weekend.
I mean, you're not messing around. I mean, you got one of the best cockpits money can buy. You got the best wheel money can buy. You got the best pedals money can buy.
So I've been working a ton at work, and I have a wife that doesn't care. I guess as long as I think she said it. As long as you tell me about it, I don't care what you do, and as long as it doesn't affect our day to day life, which has been working out. So I've been just it's all extra work from work, and I've been killing myself at work. So hopefully that can slow down soon. But I have a couple other missions around the house I need to plan for as well.
All right. Very, very good. Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
Uh, don't know about this week, about racing at Martinsville. David in the chat has kind of nullified my want of running Martinsville, but we'll see if I run it tomorrow night. I was a pretty good time the other night for us on the stream with the watching the championship race. It was a good race. It's just unfortunate that those cars were so tight together that they weren't. It wasn't as good a racing as I thought it should be, but hopefully in the next year or so we can get this car better where it races better on all types of tracks. But I look forward to that.
All right. Very good. Steve Thompson, final thought.
Yeah, I want to do a shout out to Sim Experience and AccuForce and Josh Villers at AccuForce. They had an update to their Sim Commander software from 4 to 4.5. They completely rewrote the software, and I started having a weird error come up, I could still get into the sim with no problems. And so I contacted Sim Experience, and we've been going back and forth. And anyways, Josh is he's going to get on my computer tomorrow and figure out what's going on. I had a problem with my G5 seat, and they did the same thing. It's been a couple of years since I purchased anything, but just a big shout out to those guys. That's why I tried to buy American products, and looking for great customer satisfaction and support. And so I want to thank those guys for keeping it up even after it's been a few years since I've bought anything from them.
Right. That's nice to hear. My final thoughts. Well, a shout out to Evan Pasoko. Yeah, another season come and gone that he's come on our podcast and gave us some great insight into those Coke races. It's been a real pleasure working with him, and I hope we can continue to do that in the future, in future seasons. Um, that event with the Coke race, I thought was great for sim racing overall. I mean, it's actually long overdue to have, the championship for, be in person and have an audience and a broadcast and all this different stuff. And I think it went really well. I don't think it could have went better. So kudos to NASCAR and iRacing and everyone involved for pulling that off. It went really well. As far as my racing goes, man, this week I just feel proud. I mean, that P2 and the Skippy, man, I feel proud of that. But then to turn around and win that Gen 5 Talladega from the back, I'm not saying the back, like car, 39th to first, and that's saying something against these guys who run these hosted events all the time. So I'm super proud of that win. I mean, I'm just as proud as that hosted win as I am one of my NIS wins. And so it really meant a lot to me and had some fun with it. So with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later.